From the first 3 videos, we talked about how to declare an array from Java, and also we can write method in Java. So combine what we learned from the past 3 video, we will see how can we pass in array to a method, and we can return an array from the method. So when passing an array to the method, the reference of the array is passing to the method. So just like earlier we say, when we're using the method to passing argument in the argument list, if that's a primitive data type, we passing by value. However, for all the object, we passing by reference. So in Java, all the object variable, actually they are an object variable reference. So here, for example, did you remember we talked about the array initializer? So you have the array defined, then we have the variable, then to refer to the array, right? So here we need to be careful, right? My list is a variable, but in Java, all the object variable actually is an object reference variable. Because like we said earlier, in Java, everything is dynamic object. So that's why when you create the object, you need to have the new keyword. So this variable actually is not holding the array. Instead, this variable is referred to the physically memory location in the array. So let me show you in the memory location what happened. So let me using this place. So that's how the array object will be stored in the memory. So then you see here we create an array, so size is 4. So we have the 4 double value here. So this point is the beginning of the array. So your array object is stored in some place in the memory. Then we have my list variable. That's the what kind of variable? It's the double array variable. So then they point to the beginning of the array. So that's why we say when we have the array variable name, that's a reference variable name. They have the memory address stored where the beginning of the array element. So that's why if we want to pass this array through the method, we only need to just pass the variable name. So this variable name will be passing the address through the method, so we can access the array. So then you see here, whenever you're passing an array to the method, the reference of the array will be passed to the method. However, in Java, if you're passing the primitive data type value to the method, remember we're passing by copy. So we were passing by the copy. So that's how we will see, for example, like this one. Because a lot of time we want to display an array content. So instead of we always write a for loop for that, how about we just write a method that will display the element for the array. But remember, even you say you want to display the element for the array, we need to know what kind of array. So we only work with the int data type array. So that's our print array method will look like. That will be no return value. So that's be void method. So then that's a public static. So we don't write instant method. So in order to pass in the int array, so you just need to pass in the array reference variable. So this array reference variable, they need to have a data type. So you see the data type represents what kind of variable it is. So that will be an int array reference variable. So once you pass in the array with the reference array you want to display, so then we can just using the for loop. So once you pass in the array by reference, we know the array has the data member is length. So that's our for loop condition. So in this class, from now on, I want you to always have your array for loop condition start from I equal to 0. And don't forget, this one we're just using the array.length. So even we have no idea what the capacity is, as long as your array has been passed by reference, by this method, we will know how many elements in that array, because they invoke through the object. So then you see, we just print the array content. So the size of the array always can get the length data member. So to remind you again, for the passing by value for the primitive data type, and the passing by sharing, or we say passing by reference for the object or array type, the value of the argument actually is a reference of the array. So after you pass in the array by reference, so that array variable in the method will be the same as the array being passed. So that's why if you change the array in the method, you will see the change outside the method. So we can see the memory location from this example. So this example here, you see this one is main function. So you see here, this one is the main method. Then we have another static method we call in. So in the main method, we create an int array called y. So this y, remember, is an array reference variable. So that's why they are just a reference to refer to the real array location. So actually in the heap memory, so usually heap memories we usually call the dynamic memory. So then you will refer to this y to the real array is. Then when we invoke the end method in the main method, so then we will pass in the y. So when you pass in the y, they're using the numbers to refer numbers equal to y, because you pass in the y through the argument variable. So then these numbers actually were the same thing, will assign, because numbers equal to y, they both are just an object reference variable. So when they assign the value, they assign to the location, the address for the object in the heap memory. So on the other hand, these numbers variable will refer to the same object. So that's why here, if in the AND method, I try to using the numbers square bracket 0 to update the data. So this data actually will be changed even after you try to access through the main method. So that's what we call the passing by reference. So this one we can see from the example, the next one. I want you to download the test pass array example. So you can see this example, actually we have two swap method. We see the second one first, because this second one is what I say, we passing by reference. So you can see here I have swapped the first two elements in the array. So I pass in an int array. So then in order to swap, remember we need to have a temp location. So this temp location assign the value for the first index in the array. Then we can replace the next one to the first index 0. So then the old value will be assigned to 1. So afterward, we know the index 0 and index 1 value being swapped. Right, so that's what we see here. So this one we just see from line 13. So this one we want to invoke swap first two in array. So we just display the A0, A1 first. So A0, A1 actually we use the initializer to refer to that. So you can see before we call this method, your A0 will be 1, A1 will be 2. But after we passing the A through the method, so then this method, when you passing the array, right? So the array actually will refer to this array. So then when they swap, they really swapped 1 and 2. So then afterward, they become 2 and 1. So that's why we print this result again. You will find out they are 2 and 1. So that's from line 14 to 18. So here, you can run the program, but also we do have the sample output here. So you can see before invoke is 1, 2, but after they become 2, 1. So this one, the example, the last part is we show you how the array passing by reference. After you understand this one, now I go back to see the first one. The first one, actually, we still call that a swap function. But this swap method is what? You're passing n1 and n2. So remember, you are passing integer n1 and n2. Do you passing by reference or by value? Right, primitive data type, we passing by value. So even we really try to, we swap temp equal to n1, n1 equal to n2, n2 equal to temp. But actually it's only n1, n2, the local variable in the swap method, they've been changed the value. But afterward, n1, n2 is gone. So that's why here we show you the first part. You will see this one, before invoke swap function, the first one. We have A0, A1, right? So that's 1, 2. So then when you swap A1 and 2, right? When we passing array, we passing by reference if you have A. But here, if you just individually passing each element in the array, this element is an int variable. Each element actually just an int variable. So if you are int variable, even you try to pass, right? They are passing by value. So right, I did give n1 equal to 1, n2 equal to 2 because a0, a1 equal to 1, 2. But afterward, a0, a1 didn't been affected by here. They never been accessed by this method. So that's why before you swap is 1, 2. After you swap, still 1, 2. Because n1, n2 only have the value being passing to. They are not really swapped. So that's the first one is we show you the example for passing by value. Then the second one is passing by reference. For any array element, if they are primitive data type, we passing by value. But if array itself, we passing by reference. So that's why you can see the output. And also please make sure you try to run this program to see what the result is. And you can try to change the information to see the output is expect what you think about or not. Video we talk about how to pass in array through the method.